We are back with episode 20 of Container Bytes. They never thought we'd make it, but we showed them an accomplishment. We were just talking about how we've been discussing Lunar New Year for 6 weeks now. You were blindsided by something yesterday. What happened?
Yeah, we sent out a weekly email, and I just got hundreds more out of office replies, and had to wonder what's the president say. But then I realized, yeah, you've been talking about it for quite some time, and it's upon us.
Or to our upcoming groundbreaking research on email bounces and the impact on freight rates. Diving right in, okay, Lunar New Year is here. My voice is showing that it's the year of the horse. But what does that mean for ocean freight right now? Where are rates at? What is capacity like? What's the deal, Judah?
Right. So as we've been talking about for a few, as my inbox reflects, Lunar has begun. So that means manufacturing very significantly, and that means logistics, especially trucking, is very unavailable. And so in ocean freight, we're seeing container rates continue to ease as the holiday begins. East Coast rates fell 12% back to about $3,000 per container, which is back where they were in December before kind of the ramp up to Lunar New Year started. Asia, Europe also dipped 5% back to 2,400, also about back to that level from before. Carriers now are going to blank a lot of sailings over the next couple of weeks because of this major slowdown. And then generally there's kind of a bounce back after the holiday period, which will be in about 2 weeks from now. And so we're seeing GRIs announced for Asia, Europe, but not so much the Trans-Pacific. And there's some speculation that maybe there's just not the expectation that the demand is there. So there's not going to be much of a backlog.
And that's pretty similar to what we've seen so far. Even if I look at Lunar New Year patterns on Freightos over the past 6 weeks compared to previous years, I followed the same pattern of buildup, but still kind of lower volumes and historically probably likely related to tariffs as well.
Probably. Yeah. Seeing rates drop this significantly, usually they would kind of ease and then plateau for a while and stay that way through after the holiday. Now we're seeing them kind of drop more significantly. So the other factor is weather, especially now we're talking North Europe. There have been off and on really bad storms, strong winds, and rough seas for the last 2-3 weeks. So there's been a lot of start and stop. Now we're at start again since the last couple of days or over the weekend. It was very bad again. So there's been a lot of congestion and delays. There'll be backlogs. But again, since we're kind of in this lower demand period now, it's not going to be felt as much from the shipper side.
And then does that Lunar New Year period have the same impact on air cargo?
More or less. So you see kind of the lead up, maybe not as far advanced, but you see kind of increased demand and rates as you get closer to the holiday, which is what we saw this year and into last week as well, because there's shorter lead time. So China-US rates were up at like $7.40 per kilo, which is quite elevated. They've already started to come down this week, which again makes sense. We saw an 8% increase from China to North Europe to $3. Also, some of that Lunar New Year push. We'll probably start to see rates easing like we're seeing in ocean as the holiday period is upon us.
Great. And some just really interesting news. The number 5 ocean liner in the world, Hapag-Lloyd, they do like 2.4 million TEU. They have 2.4 million TEU, like a 7% market share, acquired or announced an acquisition of Zim, Israeli flag carrier that has another 700,000 or so TEUs, right? Catapulted up, I guess stayed in the same place at number 5, right under Costco, but still looking pretty good. What are the implications on that from a capacity perspective, from a rate perspective? Do you anticipate any significant shifts for shippers?
Yeah, well, first of all, they announced the agreement this week, but it requires a lot of different approvals. It requires kind of different governmental approvals in Israel. It requires shareholder approval. So you need those approvals to move forward. Even if it does, it probably won't be finalized till the end of this year. So that's kind of first of all. Second of all, as you said, combined, it pushes Hapag-Lloyd up to about 3 million TEU. It keeps it in 5th place, but still kind of closer to 4th, which is Costco. For the broader market, it probably doesn't mean that much. So, this is the most significant consolidation that we've had in a long time, but it probably doesn't mean that much. It does increase Hapag-Lloyd's market share on certain key lanes, especially the Trans-Pacific and the Transatlantic. It probably gives them a little bit more flexibility in terms of their own capacity. But for the broader market, in terms of the broader trend that we're seeing over for the next couple of years, it's probably not going to be the case overall.
And I do also maybe just take this opportunity to shout out. I was looking at the Hapag-Lloyd website a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just really impressed with how digital they are. I know, Judah, you're working on some research about air and ocean line digitization that we'll share in a couple of weeks, but just really, really impressed with how accessible Hapag-Lloyd makes their their pricing, their booking, their management. Just want to give them a shout out because nothing happens enough. Moving back to rates and to kind of what shippers can anticipate going forward. Last week we had a little bit of a reprieval. Is that the word? No. Last week we had a little bit of a reprieve. Okay, English is great for me today. This week it seems like it's back, right? Geopolitics hitting in a couple of different directions, and kind of making global trade a little bit less stable.
Yeah. So the first one was just yesterday. Iran announced it was partially closing the Strait of Hormuz for military drills for part of the day. And during the ongoing kind of tense negotiations between U.S. and Iran. So just another sign of maybe tensions or escalation. As we said, closure of the strait doesn't have the biggest direct impact for the container market, much bigger for energy markets, but certainly something that adds another aspect of uncertainty that we've had for quite a while now. And the other thing is that the White House released its Maritime Action Plan, which has kind of been in the works for a long time. And it's basically a series of recommendations aimed at reviving the U.S. shipbuilding industry. And one of the proposals is for basically port call fees for foreign flag vessels. And the proposal is for as a 1 cent per kilo of freight that's arriving, up to 25 cents per kilo. And Lars Jensen did back of the envelope calculation, and that would mean on the low end about $150 per container, and the high end 25 cents per kilo, up to almost $4,000 per container. So that would be prohibitive. So there's a lot of questions about the feasibility of such a thing. There's no timeline given, but certainly there was a lot of kind of tension and drama last year around proposed port call fees that were meant to go into effect in November on Chinese linked vessels and then was postponed. So this kind of rearing its head again. So never a dull moment.
Awesome. Yeah, and I've also seen some movement on steel and aluminum tariffs last week, reports about potential small changes there. So obviously this like geopolitical component of tariffs is just not going to go away and will stick here with us. Reminder, we do have live feeds on Freightos Terminal. That's terminal.freightos.com, where you can get access to events as they happen that are impacting global trade. Strongly recommend signing up there. It is absolutely free. And then maybe just a last request to listeners. Glad you're enjoying it. Really nice to see how much traction we're getting on this podcast. Share this with somebody else you think might get value if they want to stay on top of global freight. And hear Judah and mine's witty banter. I was really hoping you'd say something witty there and just like seal the deal. But I was here just like, yeah, okay. Well, with that, lots more to expect. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.